Welcome everyone to this episode of the Women in Technology Spotlight. Today I have with me a very special role model. I have with me Supreet Kaur. She's an assistant vice president at Morgan Stanley. She's also a data scientist and a data strategist. She's also a WomenTech Makers Ambassador and the founder and mentor at DataBuzz. Welcome, Supreet.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
It's nice to have you here. Thank you for joining my podcast, and thank you for taking the time to tell us a little bit about yourself, about your role, and also about the background and what brought you to this point in time, because your CV looks really impressive. So I will dig into that a little bit more shortly. For now, maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself and, on a private level.
Yeah, of course. So I'll give a little bit of my background, obviously, of what landed me here, but I'll deep dive into each of those segments of my life, I would say, a little bit later on in the podcast. So my career journey started when I decided to move to US from India to pursue my master's in data science. I did MBS, it's Masters of Business and Science in Data Science, which is basically, a dual degree in data science from Rutgers, New Jersey. So New Jersey was my home away from home. For 22 years, I was in my home state back in India. So this was a transformational experience for me. I decided to do my master's, and then I got my first job as a data science consultant. And that is when my, I would say, women in tech tag started. So my first job was in a startup. I was there for around 1.5 years. Then I moved to another management consulting firm, ZS Associates, where I was again a technology and data consultant. And finally, I landed at Morgan Stanley, which is my current job, where I'm a data strategist and a data scientist. But all in all, my career has entailed about building AI solutions, driving performance through AI solutions, and automating different workflows in whatever company I am or whatever client I'm serving at any point in time. Outside my professional life, I also decided to build this community called DataBuzz because I realized the importance of mentorship during my background and during these 6 years in the US. And that's why I started DataBuzz in the February of 2022, where I mentor people who want to pivot in this technology and basically show everyone, especially women, that data science is such an inclusive space, irrespective, whatever your background might be, wherever you might be, just come in, right? Like just get in here. And on the other hand, I was also selected as one of the Google WomenTech Makers Ambassador to do the same, be an advocate for women, be an advocate for technology.
Yes. Yes, thank you so much for this brief introduction. It's very impressive, and also it just reminds me that here you are again, being a mentor and a role model for other women coming into tech. And this is such an important part of what we do today, right? Yes. Coming back to your professional history and being a data scientist and a data strategist. So for those listening who do not know what that actually is, can you tell us a little bit about what you actually do and what that job is all about?
Yeah, of course. So definitely data scientist has become such a broad term that it varies from company to company, and data strategist is definitely, I would say, an upcoming profession because most of us have realized that there is weight in the data. And for you to build a successful AI model, you need to have successful data pipelines. So as a data strategist, my role entails basically developing strategy on the data, what more can be done, what are the AI solutions we can build, and then ultimately also build POCs or proof of concepts for those AI solutions before they can be deployed to production. And on the other hand, I also have to think about the business needs. So I would say 30% of my job is also to talk to stakeholders, think about the pain points, and then develop those strategies, to come up with these solutions.
So I'm also not absolutely familiar with data science. So maybe you can dive in a little bit more into the whole thing about the data. So you say you have to make sure that the data is available or that it's sound? What exactly does that mean? Do you have an example maybe?
Yeah, of course. So whenever we are building any data science solution, the heart and soul of any data science or AI-driven product is its data, right?
Yeah.
So companies usually have these teams. It could be a data governance team, it could be a data strategy team, and definitely it will vary from an organization to organization. But I'm giving, kind of like a view of what I have experienced in my career. So all of these teams will basically be responsible for ensuring that you have accurate data. That is the first thing. Then you have the data which is available and can be consumed for these AI solutions, because AI solutions will require a specific kind of data. So your data needs to be in that format, let's say. And then you have to make decisions on whether it will be on cloud, whether it will be on premise, and usually companies are adopting to those cloud solutions, right? And then again, depending on the role, you also might be in a position to think about, okay, this is the available data that I have. Now, what do I do of this? What do my customers want? How do I increase that customer engagement? Or how do I measure the performance of an existing product? For all of those things, you need data.
Yeah. I understand. And this reminds me of something. I've heard a lot about bias in artificial intelligence and in data. Is that also something that you look into to make sure that the data is not biased? Is that part of your job?
Yeah, so it's not really part of my job, but we do work with the teams that ensure that the data is unbiased and your AI model is unbiased. So there is some sort of fairness and bias testing and due diligence that we do, and I have done in some of my previous roles where we do ensure that it's unbiased.
Yeah. I see. So you mentioned something earlier. It was about that you want to show women that it's that this field, data science, is inclusive and that there is a room for everyone. Can you expand a little bit on that?
Yes. I have read, and I would say I've been in a privileged position to interact with so many women who, some of them were high school teachers for 20 years and then pivoted into data science. Someone was in another manufacturing career and pivoted into data science, right? And some of them actually made me realize and kind of reiterated the fact that you don't have to have a traditional background to pivot into this field. I come from a non-computer science background. I did my bachelor's in mathematics. And there was no connection at that time between what I'm doing now and my education. But my master's changed everything. But even if I wouldn't have done the master's, there's so many certifications, so many online courses that are available for you now, and so many mentorship platforms for you to get you to your dream job in data science, if that is something that you would like to do. So that's where I mean that it is an inclusive space.
That is so important to understand, I think, that it does not matter whether you actually studied computer science or whether you did, like a IT-related degree, that there is room for everyone. And I think it's also quite important because coming back to the whole bias in data, I think it's so important to bring more women and diverse talent into the space to make sure that certain things that were historically overlooked, maybe when building this AI models, don't happen anymore because the teams are more diverse and people, diverse teams will build more inclusive solutions. So yes, exactly. I absolutely agree. And I think that's something we can't emphasize enough, that, anyone who has an interest for the topic can actually join this field. So, and you said you are actually a mathematician and your master's changed anything. Tell me a little bit about how that mattered. So you said you moved from India to New Jersey and you went to Rutgers, and how did that all happen? So what did you do before you moved and why did you move?
Yes, that's a great question that I ask myself every day. Just kidding, I love it here. No, so I feel like when I was almost at the end of my bachelor's degree, like many others, I was at crossroads as well, what to do
Mhm.
next in my life. Obviously, India has a lot of opportunities as well, but I had a vision for myself in mind, and I wanted to pursue a degree. I did not want to completely lose my technical acumen, but at the same time, I also wanted something that could teach me those business skills, which will help me grow as a leader. So this
Mhm.
degree was that perfect combination of those two ingredients that I was
Mhm.
looking for in my life. And if you see my career trajectory, all my roles are a blend of both things. I'm not like a super technical person. I've not been just on the business front. I've been lucky enough to be doing both.
Mhm.
So that was my main, I would say, criteria. And the other thing was I wanted to get out of my comfort zone, experience something new,
Mhm.
because the experience that you get when you move or fly like 8,000 miles away, you are already showing so much strength and resilience. Uh, and that was without a family, without a support system. And I basically had to build everything from scratch in the US.
Yeah,
So that taught me, I would say, a lot of things.
I think resilience is a good point. And let me come back to that later, but still, I'm still interested. So you just decided one day to pick up and move 8,000 miles alone and go to university here. Wasn't that scary?
It was. And I think the toughest part is also to convince your parents,
Ah,
right? Yeah,
mhm,
because obviously they have certain aspirations for you. So I had to show them, right, like what I want to do. What does my vision look like? They obviously wanted me to explore the options in India and do
mhm.
something, in India itself.
Yeah.
But I did my due diligence. I wouldn't say that it was, a decision on a whim. I spoke to as many people as possible on LinkedIn. I
Mhm.
explored other countries as well, Australia, Canada, before making the decision to US.
Mhm.
So I did all of the due diligence, and then I decided to, come here.
Yeah. So it's such an important point in your life because I think, this being on your own, suddenly responsible for everything yourself, such a big step in terms of personal development as well. So let me ask you, were there any obstacles you faced when of course, you did your due diligence, you knew what you wanted, you said you wanted a combination of technical and business skills, but what kind of obstacles did you face when you were all of a sudden alone in a strange country?
Yeah, I think innumerable because there were those little obstacles that at that time seemed too big to handle. Right.
Mhm.
Things like doing everything yourself, from cooking, cleaning to managing your day to studying, to excelling in studies, and then to finding internships in this foreign land. And obviously, the visa issues. So
Mhm.
it was a combination of so many factors. So, yeah, there were innumerable challenges, I would say. And I can dive deep, but I think we would need 40 minutes to just discuss all those challenges.
Yeah, I see what you mean. But still, I mean, we talked about resilience earlier, and I think this this is also something that plays in it. You're obviously a resilient person because you overcame all these obstacles. Um, did you also need resilience to succeed in the field of data science, which is still, I mean, it's in IT. It's probably very there's a high gender imparity. I will assume you are probably one of the few women.
Yeah.
Did you need resiliency to overcome that as well?
Mhm. I would say, I think it was more also from the background that I was coming in. And,
Mhm.
there are others whom we are competing with might have like 5 years of experience and 6 years of experience and a
Mhm.
technical degree. And then you're kind of competing with them. And then you're competing with that, I would say, IQ to, clear that position. So definitely the first job was the toughest. I would
Mhm.
say I applied to, I remember, 1,000 jobs. I got 3 interviews,
Wow.
right?
Mhm.
And I didn't have any other option but to clear those three,
Mhm.
because it was now or never kind of a situation. And that was, I would say, like one of the biggest challenges. And that too, and on top of that, you can add all those visa challenges that you might face in the US. You always require sponsorship, so you're dependent on your employer. So how do you showcase your skills? How do you show that you are better, right? You should be here. So I had to work a lot to polish my technical skills, to polish my communication skills. Though I studied English all my life, English is still not my first language. I didn't think in English back then. Right. So you need to work on all of those things. And I think the biggest factor was I developed connections. I had a family, a home away from home, which are my friends. And it's unbelievable now. I kind of attend their weddings, right? So we've come a full circle. But that is, I think, one of the biggest thing. And that's one of my suggestions as well, right? Have those connections, foster those connections. There are people who want to do the same thing as you.
Yeah.
So,
that's such a good point. Networking and having a network, a supportive network, is so important, especially for women who work in this sector, because you need someone to talk to, someone who will relate to the problems you face and understand what you're going through. And you touched on something that I want to dive in, and that was, this feeling that you had to prove that, you were better, and that it was worth, making sure that you got your visa, and that you needed to convince your employer. And I think that's an additional weight on you that you had on you. A lot of women in the space already have this weight of proving that women are good enough in tech, and then comes that on top of that.
Yeah.
So that must have been incredibly hard, and I applaud how you actually managed to overcome all these obstacles and succeed, because you actually have a very successful career. So then it's quite amazing what you achieved here. And tell me a little bit about this community you have built, DataBuzz. So obviously it is important for you to mentor other women and bring them into the space. Tell me a little bit more about DataBuzz and what it does, and
Yeah, I think one of the biggest, I would say, learning that I have had in the past 6 years that I've been in US, that I have learned a lot when I was chatting with people, when I was learning about their journeys. And that is exactly what I have been doing through DataBuzz. I've been inviting so many women, and we've had fireside chat series where I embrace their journey, where I ask them such questions and get deep on a personal level as to how they achieved what they achieved, so that others can get inspired. So that is, I think, one of my greatest achievements for this community. The other is that we have a LinkedIn page where I try to share as many resources as possible. Data science is so fast-paced and it keeps changing. It sometimes becomes so difficult to keep up with the pace, right? So if there are any new advancements, any good articles, because I have to read a lot as part of my job. So I just keep posting as and when I do. The other thing that we do is we do these AI guided sessions, and I've partnered with other AI communities where I invite people who talk about these AI topics, so that everyone can see AI getting into life, right? How does AI look in real life in these real time solutions? And they are very interactive. You can ask questions, and it's also a chance for you to network with folks, right? That is your networking opportunity. So these are the three things I've been trying to do. Another thing is also, when I'm an ambassador, I'm basically being an advocate for women, right? Openly, that they look just like me, as you mentioned. So yeah.
I love what you're doing there, because I think it brings back all the things together, all the things we already talked about, the fact that you need a support network, that you need other women around you to who understand what you're going through, and that it's also an opportunity to actually experience the tech. It's not just about, talking about problems. It's actually looking at what you're enthusiastic about, and taking the time to show people what it really means in real life. So this is so important, because one of my pet peeves is we always tell women they should come into tech, and then they have no clue what we're actually doing there. So I think this is such a great thing to do. And also, that's another thing you talked about, is the speed of change and transformation in tech, which is actually quite rapid. So I think going into tech is for people who enjoy learning, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
So even though you have this degree from Rutgers University, you never stop learning, right?
Exactly, exactly. You never stop learning, you never stop, I would say, reading. And I wouldn't say that it's something that, everyone has to do, but if you definitely see yourself or have a vision for yourself and you want to grow in this field, I think that is something you should definitely enjoy doing, I would
Yeah,
say.
yeah. And that you touched on that already. What I wanted to ask next, that was, you have said you had a vision of what you wanted to achieve, and you have this idea where you want to go. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What do you
Yeah,
envision?
sure. So I still feel like I have to get there. I'm still not there,
Of
right?
course.
But but I think the first vision, definitely was, I brought it back to life a little bit through DataBuzz, right? One of that
Mhm,
vision was to create this inclusive space, to have this community. And the other thing is definitely improving the representation of women in tech.
mhm,
I would say it's improving. From past 4 years, I've been seeing this change. If there were 2 women in the team, now we have 3, we have 4, but we still don't have a 50-50 ratio, right? So that is another thing. And I feel like through all of these podcasts and all of these forums, we can help educate women. And I feel that that would matter. Another thing is that there are still biases that will remain, right? People still think that, oh, there are these women can't code, women can't do this, or, a woman has to wear high heels and, has to be suited, booted for you to look like a leader.
mhm,
And I feel that that image is not 100% true. That image is evolving, that image is changing, right? I am as powerful and as efficient when I'm in my sneakers, rather than, so I feel
mhm.
a lot of those biases have to change, and they cannot change again in a split second. It's a journey, but I want to be part of the journey. I want to be part of that change. And for me personally, I want to see myself grow in this space, do some impactful work. And I've been lucky to be associated first with healthcare and now with finance, where I build these impactful solutions that can impact lives. So I want to continue doing that.
Mhm. That's amazing, especially the part about, building this inclusive community. I think that's so important. It's important for the women, who are already in the space and who are successful in the space, to open the door, to build a table for others to sit at. So
Yes.
kudos on that. And I'm pretty sure you will achieve your vision, because I can see that you're aspirational and that you're driven, and
Thank
also
you.
obviously highly intelligent and motivated. So thinking back, at this time at 22, when you moved across the ocean, and this young woman who came to the US, if you think of other young women in that situation, is there anything you would like to tell them that they should know?
Yeah, definitely. I think there are multiple things, but I'll try to keep it to top 3 or top 4. The first thing is that I didn't focus a lot on personal branding. And I
Mhm,
would recommend that to start focusing on that from day one, right? Or day one of your undergrad, day one of your master's, whatever that day one looks like for you. Personal branding goes a long way, and it opens your avenues like none other. I have a real family, and I have a LinkedIn family, right?
mhm,
And that is all because I leveraged this amazing platform called LinkedIn. So I would say focus on that, learn from other content creators, right? How they are doing it, and just create content. So personal branding and content creation start early. The second thing is how to combat imposter syndrome, which I'm still dealing with, but that is something that you need to have your nerves under control, right? That is important for you to succeed in a profession, in an interview, in an exam. I still deal with it. And I would say that you need to find that sweet spot for yourself. You need to find techniques to deal with it. And for everyone, those techniques might look different. And the next one is know about the space, right? If you're traveling to another country, know about the visa issues in and out. You are the best judge for yourself. You should know what you're getting into. If you're getting into a new course, know the ins and outs. And those ins and outs you'll not just know from internet. Again, talk to people, network, and know what you're getting into. Those will be my recommendations.
Yes, you actually mentioned imposter syndrome. I didn't want to ask you because I feel we talk about it a lot, and I didn't want to, again ask, how do you also experience imposter syndrome? Because of course, I still from time to time suffer from imposter syndrome. But I think it's so important that you mentioned it because it's something that a lot of women face, and it's true. You have to find ways to combat it, and you have to find ways to keep it in check when you are trying to build a career. And it's also important to understand that other women have it as well, right?
Yeah.
Yes. The personal brand tip is also so on point. Having a personal brand in these days and times is so important. It cannot be overemphasized, just like the network that you mentioned earlier. These are the two things that you should try and create for yourself, something that you're known for. Because if you lose a job, you lose a job, but you don't lose your personal brand.
Right.
And it will help you find another job. And the last thing, and I think that also helps with coming back to the imposter syndrome, is being prepared. So being prepared, knowing what you're going to get yourself into, be it a visa issue, be it a course you're going into, will help you combat the imposter syndrome as well, I think,
Yes, exactly.
Because you will not be surprised by.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but I mean, obviously life is full of surprises, right? Sometimes even beyond all this, you might face something which is totally unnatural, or totally unreal, or totally unexpected. But I think at that time, your support system that I spoke about is going to help you deal with it.
Absolutely. We just saw that in the last 2.5 years that unexpected things will happen.
That is true.
Yeah. Supreet, thank you so much for your time and coming on the podcast and all your insights. It's really helpful. And I'm sure that also this episode will be a great way to spread the word and encourage more diversity in tech. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. I hope this will impact a lot of women. And if you hear this, and if you have any further questions, I have blogs that I have on a lot of things that I've been talking about. And I also post on LinkedIn often. So if you have any further questions, you can reach me at LinkedIn.
Yes, thank you. And also, if you have any links that you would like me to post with the podcast, please feel free to send them to me and I will add them as well.
Sure. Thank you.